So, what are our rights and where do they come from?
Hmm.
Are rights given to us by somebody else?
No.
No.
Well, it's God given.
It says in every constitution ever written on the planet Earth that rights are something that you're born with.
Hmm.
You're born in the American Constitution, which is one of the clearest and easiest to understand, that you have the God given right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Indeed.
And that is an inalienable right. In other words, it cannot be taken away from you unless there's a certain circumstances. For example,
Hmm.
you've been convicted of a crime and therefore you lose those freedoms
Right.
because you've done something bad. In other words,
Hmm.
it's still you, isn't it? Nobody,
Indeed,
nobody
yes.
took the rights away. You took your own rights away by
Hmm.
canceling them by doing something that damaged somebody else. So it's still, you
Correct.
see, people don't have to think about this. They should think about this. It's still connecting to the principle that it's under your control. They're your rights to be used wisely, and it's up to you and your behavior as to whether or not those rights get canceled or taken away. Absolutely nowhere does it say that some elected official or some appointed police or some government can trample on those rights
Hmm.
without breaking God's laws
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
or the fact or your law, because you're born, and whether you believe in God or not, you've got the rights when you're born.
That's right.
So that's what's happening right now, and let's look at the whole concept of the middleman.
Oh.
Yeah,
In,
because we just discussed your rights and that you're born with them. But some middleman comes along and says, oh no, there's no direct connection between you and your natural rights. We
hmm.
are going to decide whether you have them or not. And
Oh.
we're going to write laws that say that you can do this or that you can do that. And with this constitution here, and the laws that we write are supposed to be constitutional. The rules that we make are supposed to connect with that constitution, and that gives you these inalienable God-given rights.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
the Constitution says that it's to higher, and the civil laws and the rules that the legislatures make that's the lower. Okay,
Mm.
so that has to conform. It has to conform to your overreaching protections, and that's what all these problems are that we're having in society right now. People have
Mm.
been conditioned over generations, perhaps, to
Right.
not keep control of their own rights.
Hmm.
They've been allowing others to take care of their rights for them.
Right, right, which is reflective on all citizens throughout the world,
Yes, in some
regardless
countries.
of regardless of whether you live in a so-called democratic world
Yep,
or democratic countries, or
yep.
whether you live in a totalitarian communist state or whatever.
Now here's the sticking point. In a
Hmm.
in a war zone, a totalitarian dictatorship, or a some other tyranny, the
Hmm.
people the people under those systems know very well that their rights have been taken away,
Hmm.
and they suffer and they fight and they have revolutions or wars or whatever it is, and they don't believe the government for 1 second, and they realize that their rights, which should be theirs, have been taken away, and they're angry about it and they're fighting against it and they're doing their best to survive.
Right.
However, in Western democracies, we have a very unusual situation where some people
Hmm.
don't understand that their rights have been taken away,
Hmm.
and they think, for some bizarre reason, that those who have taken away their rights and are telling them to do things that go against their liberty and
Hmm.
even their health, that
Hmm.
somehow
Hmm.
those people have the power to do so. In other words, they're allowing their own human rights to be trampled on and to be taken
Correct.
away, and they're not even upset about it. They're not even upset when somebody tells you you can't leave the country without doing the X, Y, and Z. You know? And remember, you haven't broken any laws. You haven't damaged anybody. You haven't given up your rights. So you've still got them, but somebody is telling you, no, 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 you don't. And you're
Right.
believing that. Somebody's telling you that you should do some kind of experimental procedure on your children, even from birth, even when they're babies. Some scientific medical thing that you don't know anything about, and that but you're doing it anyway because the government is telling you that you have to do this. It's a mandate.
That's right.
And you're so completely blind to your situation that where you've given up your sovereignty, where you've given up your even knowledge that you had rights in the first place. You've allowed yourself to become so vulnerable to overreach and government meddling in your liberties that you go as a sheep to the slaughter.
Yep.
And this is the situation we're in right now, and it's a deep-rooted, deep-seated situation in societies which keep their populations quiescent with entertainment, with luxuries, with products that they're educated to crave, like a new car or the latest fashions, or some kind of trend that makes you feel socially comfortable because everybody else is doing it, so you have to do it too. And it gets to the point where some people are so completely brainwashed that their rights are in the hands of somebody else that they actually become clamoring for to receive what could be damaging or harmful to them, and they stand in line to get whatever the poison might be.
Correct.
And now, what's to be done? What's to be done with people who are so blind to the rights that they don't even realize that they have them, don't even realize what they are, don't understand that they're being taken away, and go blindly into the dark tunnel of perhaps death and destruction?
Very well said. Yes.
Can we help these people? Should we help these people, or should we look out for ourselves and fight back when we see what's happening to others and which we will not consent to happen to ourselves? And when we do fight back, how can we fight back? Now, I think we've seen in this present emergency in Canada that people who have fought back have, by and large, given time, been successful. People who have fought the loss of their jobs, even though they have suffered immensely, they're in court demanding compensation.
Yes.
Some have received compensation.
Indeed.
As far as I know, nobody has been put in jail for not following a mandate.
Correct.
There has been attempts by the government to prosecute people who kept their churches open, who had large gatherings. The worst that's happened is a financial penalty.
Indeed.
And if you don't pay your financial penalty, you're supposed to be incarcerated, but nobody has been yet. So they've leveled financial penalties on people for not complying with them taking away your own rights. And then they fine you and they say that they're going to do this and that, but you never actually suffer, except that they put restrictions upon your ability to earn a livelihood.
Correct.
So the main right that's being taken away is the financial right to earn your living. So anything under their control that they can make your life uncomfortable, in other words, make you poor, or take away all your privileges, then that is what's going on. So it's not like in totalitarian countries where they put you in jail, a mental hospital, or shoot you.
Well, the way I perceive it, it's definitely an altered form of totalitarian. It's a soft one because
Absolutely.
ultimately they know the evil characters know that they can, well, there there are some kind of boundaries they cannot cross, even though they're in constant violation of fundamental constitutional rights,
That's right.
amongst many other things currently. The fact of the matter is, they still haven't done something overly drastic. Let's just put it that way.
Such as an
Uh,
Emergencies Act.
that's right. And they know they couldn't, they cannot succeed with the Emergencies Act, anyways.
There does seem to be a limit. In fact, it reminds me of that biblical passage where Jesus says, "You do not fight evil. You
Hmm.
turn your back on it
Hmm.
and walk away,
Hmm.
and it cannot attack you from behind
Right.
because there's a line. There's a line in the sand, and the line in the sand is your consent.
That's right.
If you don't agree, if you deny the authority of the devil himself,
Hmm. Hmm.
the devil himself loses all power over you.
Indeed.
And I think that's
Indeed.
what we're seeing in the movements that are rising up.
Hmm.
These are people who are saying we're not going to attack the government. We're going to attack those who are breaking the law.
Of course.
And those laws are laws that are connected to our rights.
Hmm.
And if
Hmm.
those laws are broken, then our rights are being broken, and then we have to defend ourselves. Now, here again, how do you defend yourself? Since when is there always a middleman? Why do we always have to look, for example, to the police to defend our homes or our uh, liberty? Did I hire the police? No. Well, supposedly I elected an official,
Hmm.
a politician, who
Hmm.
decides to hire the police.
Right.
Okay? So there's a middleman again.
Hmm.
So I have to trust a number of steps here. I have to trust that the politician who I've elected is going to do what they said they were going to do,
Hmm.
that they didn't lie to me. And then I have to trust that that politician is able to control or hire a policeman to defend my home and my family. And then I also have to trust that that man who is hired or that woman who's hired to defend my home and family is trustworthy and is not a criminal themselves,
Absolutely
working for
correct.
somebody else. So there's all these steps between me and the defense of my home and my family. No, none of that is true. You have the constitutional right to defend your home and your family yourself.
Indeed.
You don't have to call the police when somebody breaks into your home. You can grab your home defense weapon and you can deal with it yourself. You don't need somebody for whose permission to ask. Okay? And any attempts to take away that fundamental right to defend yourself and your family in your own home, any attempts to take away that have been thwarted in numerous legal cases. You have the right to self defense in your home, and that right is unalterable. As soon as people start realizing that they have these rights and they have these responsibilities, and they should not never give them to someone else, that's the definition of sovereignty. That's the definition of a person at liberty. Stop.